Hello students, in this video we will discuss about the structure of Graafian follicle in detail. Structure of Graafian follicle. In previous video we discussed about the structure of ovary. In that we may observe the various stages of follicular development. In that the matured follicle is called Graafian follicle. So here the matured follicle, when we observe the structure, that is the Graafian follicle we call. So the centrally there is a cavity, that is what we call the actual centrally placed egg nucleus. So you can say this, I will consider the here first you can draw the egg cell, or we may consider it as a secondary oocyte, because in the Graafian follicle still it is said to be secondary oocyte. So in that secondary oocyte there is a nucleus and nucleolus inside the this is what actually nucleus, and no need to show the nucleolus here. This is the nucleus of the egg cell, so that is actually secondary oocyte, right? So when it was released from the ovary, it was not in the form of egg, it is in the form of actually in the stage of secondary oocyte, right? So this I mentioned it as a secondary oocyte, or the later on we'll take up that. So next there is a this is surrounded by a number of cell layers. That is first layer, the what we called zona pellucida here, right? So you can show the number of layers here. This the central cell is surrounded by a number of cell layers, that is zona pellucida. This is called the zona pellucida, right? And this is the secondary oocyte. This is the nucleus of that secondary oocyte, so which is haploid, right? So and so this is actually suspended in the central cavity called antrum. So and that is connected to the outer membranes called another mass of cells here. So you can show this one, mass of cells. This is what the right. So this forms the central cavity. This is what the cavity, right? So this is called antrum, and this mass of cells are called cumulus oporus, that is formed by granulosa cells, right? So next again this is surrounded by the cell layers. Yes, so this is the membrana granulosa cells. So you can show it is the membrana granulosa cells. You can show this. So you can make the cells here like this. So this is the membrana granulosa cells. So inside this membrana granulosa there is a cavity which is formed after primary follicle development. During the course of development of this one, that is called antrum, right? So this is the membrana granulosa, right? And the next layer, there are outer, again there are two layers, that is theca externa and theca interna. So you can show this external layer by two reasons. Sorry. So you can go to this line, you can draw the two circles around this membrana granulosa. So you can take these two circles in that, so you can show the cells again. This is theca interna and outer one is again theca externa, so that also you can show. So you can show it like this. Yes, this is what the, so from external you can label the parts. Now this is the diagram of Graafian follicle, which is called matured follicle after tertiary follicle, so which is get matured now, that is called, so matured follicle or said to be Graafian follicle. The diagram of Graafian follicle shows these are the parts, that is external layer called theca externa, and next layer is called theca interna. The next cavity, you can show the membrana granulosa, this one, membrana granulosa cells, we can say, or the layers. And next one is the central cavity, that is called the cavity is called antrum here, and antrum is not the empty space which is filled with the fluid which is secreted by the follicular cells. So the fluid accumulated and forming that antrum actually, so that is called liquor folliculi. So that is the fluid. So this is the antrum which is containing fluid. That fluid is called, named as liquor folliculi, so which is secreted by the follicular cells only. And next the layer is called corona radiata. So what we called corona radiata. So this external layer is called corona, that is corona radiata. Corona radiata, right? And next, this is the secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte, nucleus of the secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte or the egg, even we call it as egg. So this is also sometimes referred as egg, because after one more division it is formed into, just before fertilization, at the time of fertilization the egg will be formed after meiosis 2. So secondary oocyte is formed after meiosis 1, right? So next, the internally there is a cytoplasm is also can mention, no need to mention here. In the detailed study of the secondary oocyte of the womb of human egg, what we called human egg, this is in detail when you are studying. In that video we can discuss the details of this womb structure. So now this the egg is suspended in the antrum. That egg is actually suspended in the antrum, and which is surrounded by the number of cell layers here. So that is what we referred. So this is the corona radiata, and even inside that zona pellucida is also there. So zona pellucida we can say, the inner layer of this corona radiata is the zona pellucida. Zona pellucida we can say that zona pellucida is the inner to corona radiata, right? And next, this is attached to the and suspended by the mass of cells called cumulus oophorus. What do you call? Cumulus oophorus. Cumulus oophorus we can say, right? So next, cumulus oophorus, and these are the granulosa cells, also called granulosa cells, right? So these granulosa cells forms the cumulus oophorus cell, cumulus oophorus, which connects this internal structure and this the external membranes, that is what you call membrana granulosa. So that's why they are formed by the cumulus oophorus is formed by the membrana granulosa cells only. That's why we mention it as mass of granulosa cells, which makes a connection between this central, this egg, and the outer these layers. That's why cumulus oophorus we can say. And so actually the tertiary follicle further change into a matured follicle, that's called the Graafian follicle, as we studied early. Okay, so this is what the structure of Graafian follicle, which is also expected for 3 or 5 marks question in your examination. So practice this diagram, and which is also there in your practical examination, the Graafian follicle, the identify, and even for theory as well as for practical. So it's very important, right? So you can go through this diagram and try to practice the all labelings, right? So here we can also try to understand the what is this the structure when you make it what you call the enlarged structure of human. Next I'll go for the structure of so here the Graafian follicle structure is important. You can try to draw this and practice it, so in your remedial notebook, so you can practice all the labelings are very important, and one by one in one side you can label. Okay, so that egg cell we may discuss, or the structure of home of human being, so that will be discussed in the next video. Okay, thank you students.